Hello, welcome to the Part 1 1915I Medicaid Policy and Procedures WHODAS training. My name is Dawn Pearson. I'm the 1915I Administrator with the Medical Services Division with the North Dakota Department of Human Services. Today we will talk about the WHODAS in relation to the 1915I Home and Community-Based Services Medicaid Policy and Procedures. I have included a notice. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, placed several requirements on the state prior to approving the use of the WHODAS for the 1915I. The information contained in this PowerPoint captures those additional CMS requirements, so must be followed in those instances which the WHO website instruction for the WHODAS differs. For example, the WHO website instructions do not require face-to-face administration of the WHODAS, yet CMS requires face-to-face administration of the WHODAS when utilized for the 1915I. Completing the WHODAS for the 1915I. The information provided today of determining 1915I eligibility. You are taking this training because you will be administering and scoring the WHODAS for the purposes of determining 1915I eligibility. This training is in addition to the required general training on the WHO website and additional training resources available on the 1915I website. A little bit of background on the 1915I. During the 2019 legislative session, North Dakota lawmakers authorized the Department of Human Services to create a Medicaid 1915I state plan amendment. The amendment allows North Dakota Medicaid to pay for additional home and community-based services to support individuals with certain behavioral health conditions, such as mental illness, substance abuse disorders, and/or brain injury. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services granted approval to the department in January of 2021. What are 1915I home and community-based behavioral health services? They are services to support eligible individuals with behavioral health conditions to live in the community rather than an institution. The 1915I is a collaborative effort between the department's medical services and behavioral health divisions. 3 positions were approved for the department to implement and administer the 1915I. 2 of the 1915I administrator positions are located in the medical services division. Those positions, the role is Medicaid policy, regulatory oversight, and operations. The 3rd position is the Community Behavioral Health Administrator position located in the Behavioral Health Division. That position's role is provider outreach, technical assistance, and quality assurance. Here you will see the various services available through the 1915I: care coordination, training and supports for unpaid caregivers, respite, community transition, non-medical transportation, housing supports, supported employment, supported education, benefits planning, peer support, family peer support, and pre-vocational training. Who can administer the 1915I WHODAS? Agents administering the WHODAS must be independent and meet the requirements of a trained, qualified practitioner. A trained, qualified practitioner is defined as an independent agent providing verification of completion of the WHODAS user agreement and associated training on the administration and scoring of the WHODAS 2.0. What is the WHODAS 2.0? The World Health Organization Disability Assessment Schedule, or WHODAS, is an instrument developed by the World Health Organization, or WHO, to provide a standardized method for measuring health and disability across cultures. The WHODAS 2.0 was developed from a comprehensive set of international classification of functioning, disability, and health, ICF, items that are sufficiently reliable and sensitive to measure the difference made by a given intervention. This is achieved by assessing the same individual before and after the intervention. A series of systematic field studies was used to determine the schedule's cross-cultural applicability, reliability, and validity, as well as its utility in health services research. The WHODAS 2.0 is useful for assessing health and disability levels in the general population through surveys and for measuring the clinical effectiveness and productivity gains from interventions. The WHODAS.
Okay, found this on the web for a series of systematic.
Excuse me. The WHODAS is directly linked to the International Classification of Functioning, Disability, and Health, or ICF. The WHODAS measures health and determines the level of need of an individual. The WHODAS is currently utilized throughout the North Dakota Department of Human Services Behavioral Health System. It is used across all diseases, including mental, neurological, and addictive disorders, and is applicable in HCBS settings across cultures and in all populations across the lifespan. So those are the reasons the WHODAS was chosen for the 1915 I. The WHODAS serves dual purposes. Number one, determination of member eligibility for the 1915 I. An overall complex score of 50 or above is required. Number two, determination of need for individual service authorization. The individual domain scores will assist the 1915 I care coordinator with identifying the member's needs to determine which of the 1915 I services will be authorized. While building the person-centered plan of care, the care coordinator and the member will identify goals. The domain scores will identify the member's needs and determine which of the 1915 I services will be authorized for that individual. Scoring the WHODAS. The WHODAS offers several scoring options. However, the 1915 I requires assessors to use the complex scoring method. The more complex method of scoring is called item response theory, or IRT based scoring. It takes into account multiple levels of difficulty for each WHODAS 2.0 item. This type of scoring for WHODAS 2.0 allows for more fine-grained analysis that make use of the full information of the individual's responses. The WHODAS overall complex score. The WHODAS will provide a reliable overall complex score to ensure the individual meets the eligibility criteria of the 1915 I. Again, a comprehensive complex score of 50 or above is required for 1915 I eligibility. The complex scoring method takes the coding for each item response as none, mild, moderate, severe, and extreme separately, and then uses a computer to determine the summary score by differentially weighting the items and levels of severity. The scoring has 3 steps. Step 1, summing of recorded item scores within each domain. Step 2, summing of all 6 domain scores. Step 3, converting the summary score into a metric ranging from 0 to 100. where 0 equals no disability, 100 equals full disability. The computer program is available from the WHO website. So on this screen, you will see the 6 domains of the WHODAS. The first is cognition, understanding and communicating. The second is mobility, moving and getting around. The third, self-care, hygiene, dressing, eating, and staying alone. The fourth, getting along, interacting with other people. The fifth, life activities, domestic responsibilities, leisure, work, and school. And the sixth domain is participation, joining in community activities. The WHODAS domains and domain scores. In addition to the overall summary score, the WHODAS 2.0 domain scores produce domain-specific scores for those 6 functioning domains that we just discussed. The domain scores provide more detailed information than the summary score. The domain scores will be utilized by the care coordinator in the person-centered plan of care process to determine the member's needs for each of the 1915I services and ultimately determine which services will be authorized for the member. The World Health Organization confirmed the existing WHODAS 2.0 is suitable for individuals across the lifespan. In those cases where a given question may not be applicable, for example, in the case of a small child, there is a mechanism outlined in the WHODAS user manual for how to calculate the score when having dropped a question or two. There are federal regulations involved with operating a Medicaid-funded program. The Conflict of Interest Standards prohibit 1915I enrolled service providers from administering the WHODAS for members they provide 1915I services. These federal regulations are in place to protect the individuals served under the 1915I, as well as to prevent Medicaid fraud and abuse. The state must be in compliance with all federal regulations to receive Medicaid funding. The CMS allows 2 modes for the administration of the 1915I. The first is face-to-face interview, and the second is face-to-face proxy. Mode number 1, the interview. WHODAS 2.0 will be administered face-to-face by an agent who is independent and qualified, as defined by the state in the application process, using a person-centered process. General interview techniques are sufficient to administer the interview in this mode. Chapter 7 of the WHODAS instruction guide, available through the World Health Organization, contains question-by-question specifications that each interviewer must be trained in, and Chapter 10 contains a test. Excuse me, we will start again on this slide. The WHODAS 2.0 will be administered face-to-face by an agent who is independent and qualified as defined by the state in the application, using a person-centered process. General interview techniques are sufficient to administer the interview in this mode. Chapter 7 of the WHODAS instruction guide, available through the World Health Organization, contains question-by-question specification that each interviewer must be trained in, and Chapter 10 contains a test that can be used to assess knowledge related to administration of the WHODAS 2.0. The second mode is proxy, An individual's representative may provide a third-party view of functioning under certain circumstances. An individual's representative with respect to an individual being evaluated or assessed for 1915I eligibility means the individual's legal guardian. The SFN 741 1915I eligibility form serves as the official request for 1915I eligibility determination. The purpose of the form is to collect the diagnostic and WHODAS information required for the individual's 1915I eligibility to be determined. The SFN 741 eligibility form is located at the link provided here. The diagnosis section of the form must be completed by the clinical professional providing the member's diagnosis. The WHODAS section of the form will be filled in by you as the trained qualified practitioner completing the WHODAS assessment. The completed form is provided to the 1915I zone eligibility worker. 1915I eligibility redetermination. The WHODAS assessment must be completed again within 365 days as part of the individual's or sooner if requested by the member, the department, or the 1915I care coordinator. The new WHODAS scores will be documented on the SFN 741 and provided to the zone eligibility worker. For further information on the WHODAS, please see the World Health Organization's website at the link provided, and also see additional resources located on the 1915I website at the link provided. We encourage you to get signed up for updates on our 1915I website if you haven't already done so. This assures you will receive all future notifications on the 1915I. And this concludes the training. Thank you.